Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It's been 4 straight for Jared Filsell, but no guarantees of his participation. Today we come to a circuit which has got all of the hallmarks of testing characteristics of driving. It's a circuit that every sim racer should know on iRacing, like the back of their hand as iRacing free content. Welcome to Mimasaka here in Okayama Prefecture, Japan. This is the Okayama International Circuit, and we are set well into now the second half of the season here in your iRacing C-Class Supercars Series. My name's Jake Sperry, Brady Baldwin alongside with me today as we are stoked for racing action around a circuit which is going to require a little bit of interesting strategy, we feel, today, with the length and the distance that we have. Brady, a circuit which pretty much has all the characteristics of great battling. That section from the hairpin all the way up to the top side of the circuit, out then over towards Mike Knight Corner, is one where too wide is very, very possible.
Yeah, sure is, Barry. Thank you for the introduction once again, and certainly going to be a challenge for all drivers tonight. It's not the easiest track to get around, and we've been talking off air. That's going to be a few split strategies, I feel like, in this race, especially with the race distance, and potentially if you can save a lot of fuel, you may be able to go to the end without taking a pit stop as we go on our Google Earth image in Japan of the Okayama International Circuit, 3.72 kilometers in length, opened in 1990, 11 turns in a clockwise direction, and one of the free base content on the iRacing service, and certainly a well familiar track for a lot of drivers on this service.
It is an incredibly familiar circuit, and these drivers know that the 11 turns, which are clockwise in spend, are going to be so crucial to get correct. This is one of the tracks where you can just find yourself out of position very quickly and find that a number of corners are pretty difficult when you're stuck on the outside the entirety of the time. This circuit, formerly known as the TI Ada circuit, took 2 rounds of the Formula One World Championship, and both of them were won by Michael Schumacher in a Benetton, 95 and 96. So this is a circuit that does have a lot of history and heritage. Is now more known for the national Japanese scene of racing as one of their elites in terms of their racing. But let's talk about this championship and where we are today, because this might be a chance for other drivers now to make some progress here, taking advantage of the conditions. We see here only 3 winners so far this season. Cody Deeth at the season opener, Brody Kostecki at Phillip Island and Navarra, and then 4 straight for Jared Filsell moving into this Okayama circuit. But what we can say with the drivers that are here, we are guaranteed a 4th winner this season, because none of our previous 3 winners are here at the moment. The championship looks like this. Jared Filsell at 2,066 points, and will start eating into his 4 drop rounds available. He's got a very sizable lead up there at the top, but drivers like Rehan Lianaj will be looking to try and eat in with a result here today.
Yeah, only one of those top 10 drivers are actually in the field tonight, which is car number 1 of Rayan Leonard. So it'll be very interesting how the points play out after this, and a few guys maybe a bit further down the standings outside the top 10 will be looking to work their way up through the field.
Yep, and this is what happens with drop rounds at the moment. Jared Filsell would still be up on the top, but only by 2 championship points, with Madison down in 3rd and Richie Stanaway up into 4th position. So some different drivers there, like some Matthew Bowler and Luke Rosella, starting to move up into the top 10, and Jake Maloney as well. So we'll see how those drop rounds start to factor in as drivers late on in the season try and make a late charge up the order, with other drivers who decide that their season is all but done because they can't chase down the positions that they maybe would want. So there is still a lot on the line as these drivers all look to put themselves into the right place championship-wise. But at Okayama, this is one of those tracks where you just got to find the patience factor. They will be going through qualifying at the moment. They'll have 8 minutes to go and set their qualifying lap times. They will have 2 laps in order to get their lap times in through. So it will mean that they've got to be very switched on to how quick they've got to be, and knowing that they've got to be up to speed pretty quickly around this Okayama circuit. So that qualifying, I think, is going to be important, but this is one of the few circuits where you can make overtakes. It is pretty much a case of try and find your avenue in to make the pass, and it's pretty much a case of, if you want to learn the basics on iRacing, this is one of the few circuits out there, the likes of Laguna Seca, you can put in Lime Rock Park, Rudskogen, all of the free tracks are there to say, this is how you practice great racing.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's one of those really good tracks on the service. And talk about qualifying, it's a lot different preparation for your qualifying laps in these Gen 3 supercars. In the previous generation cars, you had to do a very slow out lap because the tyre model was so sensitive to tyre heat. You had to be very, very slow in your out lap. It's a lot different in these cars, and it does depend track to track. So it'll be interesting to see how drivers strategize that, as drivers now are starting their first flying lap of the session.
Yeah, it's very cold, very cloudy conditions out here at the moment. Just the 19 Celsius on track. So they are in the quickest conditions possible, but they will need to get those tyres up to temperature. So maybe those second laps might even be a little bit quicker as we focus with Rob Bowden and the number 8 machine going through the revolver here at Okayama and in towards the next section of corners. That left, which immediately follows after, that was Piper Corner. And now they lead over to Redmond Corner here. This difficult hairpin through the left. It's up the hill on the exit. Very easy for the tail to kick out. And this is the highest section of the circuit going around Hobbs Corner. You hit the plateau here and it's downhill through to Mike Knight and the last corner out here on circuit, the 13th corner out on track, which is lucky for Simon. Bowden will make his charge over towards the line. We'll see what this is going to be. Chastaneuf in with a 32.1. Seb Tixier quickest on the 32 flat, and Bowden not setting a time there, so an off track somewhere around the lap, which puts him wrong place, wrong time, and needs to improve on this second lap. Scott Mackey going quickest only for a moment because Rehan Lianaj has gone fastest by nearly 3/10.
And Ryan's pulled it up straight away, so he's not attempting that second lap whatsoever. He's confident within himself that he's got enough on the board on that first lap. And Scott Mackay, the ERT driver, into second place. A very nice job for him. Steve Jansen recently just jumped into P4 as well. William Morgan, his first appearance in top split so far. He's currently P number 6. Chad Lewis, another ERT driver, in 7th. So Ryan has about 3/10 to Scott Mackay in P2, but Rob Bowden, he's been one of the better drivers in the series, consistent top 10 throughout the last few weeks. He'll be looking to put down a really nice lap here on the second lap.
Yeah, that's definitely what he's searching for now through the next left-handers, and now hoping that this next section is going to pay off in dividends. We've been with him for an entire lap, hoping that his lap time works out for him, trying to navigate into the corner. You can see here he tips the car in and looks to try and get over to the left-hand side as quickly as possible. Ian Ford has just gone third fastest with his time of a 1:31.994, and round the penultimate corner and in towards the last. And this is where Rob Bowden needs a lap time, because if he doesn't get it here, he'll be starting at best at the moment 22nd on the grid. So Rob Bowden, long charge over towards the line, and that one is a 32 flat, good enough for the third row of the grid currently. So still a lot of improvements needed. Yuanji Lin has gone 8th fastest. James Chastaneuf currently in 7th position. Rehan Lianaj looks safe at the moment as we watch Bouclier over the line. We look a little bit further back here to a rapid fit of a car out there as we move on through. That is car number 22 out there, Conor McDermott, down at the bottom of the times of those who have set. He needs half a second now here, Brady, to move on up past Gabriel Bouclier, who's very much down the order. We'll see if this manages it.
Yeah, Conor McDermott currently 33.9, his best lap. Cross line 33.3, but they will only jump up one position to position number 21. Gabriel Bouclier struggled in his qualifying laps, and Dan Hall still on track with 2 minutes remaining. I don't think he's quite going to get his lap in, but we might try and get on him if we can. He's the only car, I believe, still left on track. Ian Ford actually on the front straightaway, finishing his second flying lap. Is an improvement? No, it's not. It's still about 10th slower than his first lap.
We've still got Daniel Hall, who's not set a time out there at the moment and will need to in the Evolution Racing Team colours. So Daniel Hall will have himself this lap and this lap only to set, because he'll be out of time for any other lap that comes through afterwards. Really trying to get to the middle of the road and slowly tipping the car in through turn 1, the first corner out on track. Off camber here through turn 2 at Williams, making the run to the Sterling Moss S here, which is flat out. You try and straight line through this section, heading to the bottom of the circuit, the Atwood Curve, which is one of the great diving places to go and make a pass.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be one of the more prime opportunities to make a move during this 30-lap race that we have here tonight. Also, turn 1 as well, probably a really good opportunity. Then, obviously, the long back straight to the run, the hairpin at turn number 5. Very heavy braking zone coming to the hairpin. Drivers reaching about 250 kilometers an hour down the back straight, Sperry.
Yeah, and then into that hairpin, they drop under 70 kilometers an hour just to try and make the turn. And this is the tight and technical middle sector of the lap then that you find yourself in. No more than 100 kilometers an hour coming out of Piper Corner and over towards the next left of Redmond. And then you're just trying to make sure that you can get the car through the corner, that the balance is there. And that's what Daniel Hall's relying on, making sure he's got a car, a Mustang that is very balanced and is making the turns without too much trouble. Little hits of the brake through the middle there of Mike Knight Corner, which would have indicated that maybe he's carrying a bit too much through a couple of them. Really attacks the curb off of the final section. We'll see if he can challenge near the front. Over the line goes Dan Hall, 132.5, and that's good enough for 14th position overall. That is qualifying in the books, and the field will be set for 30 laps worth of racing action here at the Okayama International Circuit. No surprises at the front. It's a dominant qualifying by car number 1, Rehan Lianaj, who picks up that pole position. But maybe what is surprising is that it's car 23 out of 24 that's alongside him on the front row of the grid. That is Scott Mackey there for company. It will then be Ian Ford and Seb Tixier on row 2 with Steve Jansen and Rob Bowden 5th and 6th positions. James Chastanerf starts 7th with Yuanji Lin in 8th ahead of William Morgan and Tim Mulford, who will make up the top 10 overall. Chad Lewis and Lewis Tollan, not to be confused when you got Lewis going on there on row 6 as Alex Sevillano Hiedo is on 13th position as Daniel Hall, who we saw at the end of qualifying, will line up 14th. It will then be Stephen Borg and Dean Wright on row 8 with Tyler Jowett and Thomas Freeman, who are there on row number 9. 19th will belong to Jason Fewins, and the top 20 will be rounded out by Andrew Ritchie, leaving just 4 more drivers after that. Travis Daly, Riley McKibbin, Conor McDermott, and Gabriel Bouclier down at the back with it all to do from 24th position. But it is a fairly sizable run towards turn 1, Brady. So what are we expecting to see off of the opening couple of laps?
Maybe a bit of chaos, Barry, to be quite honest. It's not the widest track. It is down the front straight, but it narrows quite thoroughly into turn 1 and 2, into the S's. Potentially a bit of action into turn 4 at the Atwood Curve. So, be very interesting. The more exciting thing that I'm going to touch on before we go, Greensbury, is a few guys might try the fuel save. One of those guys might be Thomas Freeman. He's done it a couple of times this week in other official races. So watch out for Thomas Freeman. He is starting 18th, but watch out for him to run the alternate strategy.
Well, is it quicker or is it not? That's the question that will be asked. 2 minutes on the clock, lights on, lights out. We're underway here at Okayama. It's a great start from the second row by Tixier, who will immediately swarm past Mackey and try and get through. And Mackay is tapped and has to slide through. Ford's off the road as well. Chastity's up to third and they'll slide through. Watch out for the rejoin. Bang! Into the wall goes Mackey, going through towards turn 2. A horrible start for him as diving through the middle of the gap was William Morgan, and Captain Morgan finds himself up the places.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate for Scott Mackay. Unfortunately got caught up with his teammate re-entering the track in Ford, and looks like William Morgan tried to take evasive action. Unfortunately got into the side of Scott Mackay, so that's very unfortunate for him after a brilliant qualifying in position number 2. He's got a lot of hard work ahead of him in this 30-lapper.
They're battling all along here, this back stretch, climbing and then dropping the hill. A flick around there as the 888 style car there battles along, getting the move down the inside. Oh, tap! Chad Lewis turns Seviano into play. It wasn't actually Seviano. I think that was actually going to be the driver who Seviano was battling, Lewis Tollan, who's gone around. So Tollan down to the back of the field. A very difficult start to the race, but this will feel a little bit like a bull ring, so to speak, with just how tight everybody is packed in together. El Plaza del Toro, and everyone's trying to rampage.
Yeah, it's going to take a few laps for guys to just get into their rhythm into this race and try and single file out a little bit. A lot of still 2-wide action. Thomas Freeman and Dean Wright side by side into the Mike Knight corner, and that will allow Scott Mackay to get another spot back in the background, but it's still a lot going on. But for Rayan Elarge, it's smooth, clean sailing out in front for him, as actually Seb Tixier right on his rear bumper into turn 1 runs it a little bit wide, might expose himself quickly to James Chastanoff.
5 clear at the front at the moment. Lienage from Tixier, from Chastanoff, from Janssen, from Yuan Ji Lin there in the 5-star motorsport car P5. William Morgan is the split in the divide in 6th place, and behind there, Rob Bowden under a lot of pressure from Alex Seviano, who's hoping to try and bring the number 6 car in, but he lifts out of it, not wanting to make a move. Tixier then in 2nd, up the hill, and if you can stay in range, you've got a really good shot. If you're able to try and save some fuel behind the car in front, that might be where the game is won. Tixier is lunging late down the inside. Oh, Lianage opened the door and going too deep in on the brakes, which has been the Tixier trouble for him over the last year and a half or so. He's there struggling, and now round the outside tries Chastity. He gets the move, but they've almost given the second to the danger man of the race.
Yeah, Tixier did it turn number 1 as well, had a big lunge, and Ryan Lianage couldn't quite get pulled up, ran wide, and nearly got passed by Chastanoff. He's done it again at turn number 5. Unfortunately, he'll definitely lose the spot this time around, so now he's under pressure from Steve Jensen and Yuan Ji Lin as well, not far behind. But it looks like it's settling down quite a little bit, as in the background, Thomas Freeman's gone off and there's a lot of cars off.
Oh, that's big. Rob Bowden on the radio saying, cheers, mate. That was not what I wanted to hear. So he got himself caught up, and it looks like it was Bowden ran into the back by Alex Seviano Hiedo through the corner, and pretty much it was a jammed track, nowhere to go. Everyone had to scramble about. We'll take a look here. Look how easy the track jams up at Redmond Corner. A complete roadblock.
Yeah, the number 13 there of Daniel Hall, he had nowhere to go whatsoever. Tried to go around the outside, there was nowhere for him to go. So unfortunately, he gets caught up. Gabriel Biclair runs wide at turn number 1 as well, but looks like Seb Tixier is still right on the back of James Chastanoff. He's had quite a bit of pace for this one. That one little mistake, number 5 lost in that second place. So we'll see if he has enough pace to try and get Chastanoff back.
Well, we know that Seb Tixier is one of the last of the late breakers when it comes to getting himself in, and he does it again. Look at how much later he gains an extra 10 meters through the brakes, but it's all about trying to get it slowed up. His style is very different to everyone else's because he's not classically trained with the supercar, so to speak, out there, Brady. He's actually more inclined and trained with the Lotus 49, where you do need that long extended braking zone.
Yeah, I've also ran against him quite a bit over the years. He's got quite a lot of experience in these cars, but it's not his. He's got quite a lot of experience in these cars, but it's not his first forte. So he's done quite a good job, especially racing against Chastanoff, who's a veteran in these cars, and a speedster like Rayan Lianage as well. So he's doing quite a good job so far. Since that one little mistake has cost him that P2, but he's still got about 27 laps to try and get it back.
Yeah, you've got to keep in mind on who's behind as well. Janssen happy to sit quiet. Yuanji Lin, and now on the back of the group, William Morgan, Ian Ford, who's got the fastest lap of the race currently, and at Stephen Borg. That's a lovely look at the top of the grandstand there as we go in towards turn number 1. Nice bit of corrugated iron.
Certainly was a fantastic shot from our producer, Jay Kennedy, but Seb Tixier still trying to make up that ground on James Chasnoff. A lot of guys seem to be struggling with the rear end of the car on this track. I have found with these Gen 3 cars, Chasnoff lunges down the inside, massive move. At turn number 5, runs it wide, just like Seb Tixier did a couple laps ago. He won't get the job done, but man, oh man, what a moment there for Chasnoff.
Well, you don't often get to see him make moves like that. He was going from a mile away to try and make that move, and you know what?
Again.
He's doing it again. I think Rehan's in a big fuel save game early in this race. You can see he's really extending his braking zones earlier, and James Chasnoff moves through to the race lead. I think Rehan wants to save fuel.
Yeah, well, that's our first indicator of Rehan going to try and attempt the no-stop race in this 30-lap affair. He's seen him pull a really nice gap at the start of the race, and he slowed his pace up quite a bit. Chasnoff now in the race lead, so very interesting to see how this plays out for Ryan Leonard. He can now try and sit behind Chasnoff to have a little bit extra field and get that draft as well, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, Sperry.
Well, this is a big game to play, and Chastity, I think, has taken the bait of what Rehan Lianaj wants. Of course, Rehan's always got the help of his father, Laz, who is there as his chief crew and spotter to say, this is the strategy, and the two are pretty much inseparable. And for a driver of Rehan's young age, he does everything that Laz tells him to do, and quite often, it is the winning strategy.
Yeah, usually is. He's won a lot of races on the service so far. Very talented, and he's very fast as well. So we'll see how this strategy plays out for him. We can pretty much definitely confirm now that he's on the field save strategy. You wouldn't think he'd lose that much time. And Seb Tixier nearly has a look down the inside at turn number 4. Not quite close enough.
Oh, you can just see it. He's about 50 metres shorter than everybody else when it comes to the brake zone. And Rehan is really leaving himself vulnerable in these heavy braking zones to a driver like Seb Tixier, who will eat this breakfast, lunch and dinner as he tries to go in. There's a lot of lift and coast going through. Tixier is uber aggressive, but the whole group's still there. Goes all the way back to Lianaj's teammate Tim Mulford. So it's a 9-car train here at the front, lap 5 at 30 here at Okayama, and the question now is going to arise, are you going to get the ability to break away, yes or no? Because if the answer's no from Chastity, then they're going to be sitting around saying, well, no one wants to do the donkey work at the front of this field, and it's allowing everybody into this group to say, we've got a great chance. The slower that they run the pace, the more chance the no-stop works for everyone.
Yes, 100%, so it'll be very dependent on the pace of James Chasnoff. If he doesn't have quite enough pace to run with Ryan Leonard, he's not saving the field to do it. He's going to be in a lot of trouble by the end of the race for at least a race win. So it's very interesting to see how his pace fares throughout the race. That last one by was only about a 10th faster than Ryan Leonard on that last time by. So very interesting to see what Chasnoff will do in this race. I've had a look at a few results from this week, and Chasnoff has been taking the pit stop throughout the race. So it'll be interesting to see if he continues that here tonight.
Well, it might be the same strategy and a splash and a dash to get going once more. The group's starting to fragment now here because you've got drivers out there who've had problems. That Lewis Tollin again getting caught up in troubles then with Bouclier potentially, the number 7 car of Gabu. Oh, Bouclier has a big moment, catches Seviano through the middle of the corner, and that puts him back down the field towards the rear. There's the pass done, and that is interesting. So Tixier now flies on through into second position, which puts Lianaj back down to third. This is a big attempt by Lianaj early to get the fuel safe, and if Tixier can run away, that's going to be huge. We'll take another look at it because once more it's into the Atwood curve, which is the 4th corner out there. Look how early the lift and coast is. That is enough to gain about 20 kilometers an hour moving through side by side, exiting the corner, and Tixier just says, thank you, I'll have it.
You can see how late Ryan Leonard is under brakes because he's lifting off so early and clutching into the corner, so it was easy pickings there for Seb Tixier into turn number 4, and Rayan didn't put up a fight whatsoever. He's playing the long game in this race. We're about to finish lap number 6 of this one, this 30-lap race, and Ryan Leonard's back into third, but I don't think he's too worried at the moment because it doesn't look like Seb Tixier or Jamie Chapsoff are saving fuel whatsoever, and Morgan down the inside of Steve Jensen, position number 4. This one of the first times, if any, for William Morgan in top split. He's putting up a brilliant fight with Steve Jansen.
Yep, starting 9th on the grid. Chastity, by the way, started 7th. He's up 6 and leads this race. Jansen defends this one as a stalwart, and there's the look to the inside, having to really move across. Door to door they go. Morgan with the half slide. They still continue on as touring car as it gets. And these supercars back on the power. Morgan yields to Jansen.
Yeah, that was an audacious move there for William Morgan. Nearly got it done. Just got into the door. We've seen Jansen might have just rolled out of it a little bit on the exit to let Steve Jansen keep that spot back. He might have felt a little bit bad about that audacious move down the inside, and that might allow Ian Ford just into the fight. And Ian Ford, another one of those very experienced campaigners, he might be trying to field saver as well. As we've got another replay. I think that's Lewis Tolan once again in the Red Bull entry. It's Tyler Jowett actually runs a little bit wide at turn number 4, apologies, and Thomas Freeman, another guy that we expect to be on the field safe down the inside for another position.
Yeah, so Thomas Freeman finds himself in P12, middle of the group right now with Chad Lewis, led by Stephen Borg, who's been dropped out of the main group, which is housed by Tim Mulford, who's really gained some places. Now watch out for all of that gravel kick-up through the final couple of corners here, because that's going to make the circuit really slippery as they go on through, because that is going to be one of the places you keep in mind for iRacing's dynamic track system, which comes into play, and debris refresh.
Yeah, we've seen it massively at Brands Hatch, especially on the exit of turn 1. It was really, the race was affected by that quite a lot. A lot of guys losing the rear end on the exit of turn 1. You see Ian Ford just behind William Morgan run very wide on the exit of turn number 2 at Williams, pick up some more dirt on the racetrack. So very interesting how dirty the track gets by the end of the race. It might affect some guys' grip and might affect a pass or anything like that throughout the rest of this race.
You've got limited grip, you're going to be spinning the wheels up, you're going to be burning more fuel to try and get back up to the same similar sorts of speed. So very difficult to get the fuel numbers correct if you're managing in that regard. So keep that in play as we are on to lap 8 now of this race, focusing with William Morgan in 4th position and the veteran Ian Ford behind him there. Massive hit through the revolver of the gravel on the outside. They can't afford to go wide too much on this circuit as well. This is an iRacing official race, so they've only got 17 instant points to play with before they start hitting drive-through penalties.
Yeah, it's not a track that you can really be too aggressive, sorry. You can easily pick up a lot of off-tracks on this circuit, so drivers will have to be quite mindful of how much curb they're using. As in front, Ryan Leonard's using all of the road on the exit of turn number 10, so drivers will have to be very wary of their incident limits throughout this race.
They certainly will do, and that is going to be worth keeping in mind. Here comes a little search from Ian Ford. He won't be close enough into turn 1 here in the fantastic Evolution Racing Team colours. Now, this is a little bit further down the order here, so I would have said this is not quite ideal with about Andrew Ritchie. So the two teammates there together, I think that's Daniel Hall down the inside, and whew, you can't get much closer than that. That's the pass. That's as clean as a whistle.
Yeah, SimSpeed's own Jason Fewens as well involved in that battle with Dan Hall and Andrew Ritchie, Lewis Toland as well, not far behind. So a few good battles at the back of the field. There's battles all throughout the field, and obviously with the split strategies we're seeing in this race as well, there's still a lot to play in this race on lap number 9 of this race. And just looking at lap times as well, Sperry, Ray and Leonard's lap times are very much comparable to Tixier and James Shashnoff. So if he's saving fuel and keeping up the same lap times as them, he's in a very, very good position.
If he can stay within a second and a half, he's in a really good spot to make his strategy work. He's not under any immediate pressure from Steve Jansen, so he knows he's got a smile on his face as he goes and battles for it. Ford will realise behind, he's got Yuanji Lin and Tim Mulford there, and no one really wants to try and extend out too much and rock the apple cart in a race like this as we head towards the 1/3 stage overall. Very happy to stay in line and keep an eye on that second group as well, because we've got a number of little mini packs starting to form out there. You've got Stephen Borg leading out Chad Lewis and Thomas Freeman. You've got then the next group of Dean Wright, a little bit in no man's land, up against Tyler Jowett and Scott Mackay, who's trying to recover through this field. Fewens and Hall out there, Ritchie and Tolan out there. Everyone has found someone to work with, and this is the sort of race you've got to try and tango with. One move down the inside, Tyler Jowett has just lost the place to Scott Mackay, who's gone straight through with a little bit of biffo to go with it.
Yes, Mackay on the recovery, unfortunately, and that really poor first lap after qualifying on the front row for this race. He's now back up to position number 13. We'll have a look at it on the SimSpeed replay. Got a really good run off the final corner and down the inside into one. A little bit of a lock brake as well. Just gets pulled up, uses up Gio just a little bit, but gets the move done. One place up for Scott Mackay.
Yep, so he's got that extra one place and he'll be happy. Fewins apologising over the radio for being a little slow through the corner. There was contact there with Dan Hall as they went through. So they can see there the front bonnet, they're crumpled on car 14. So Tyler Jowett dealing with a little bit of damage there to the front. Now that won't hurt him massively at the moment, but it's there. And you're talking about the tiniest margins through the corner. You can see Fewins runs a little bit wide, has a moment in front of him, puts a little bit of contact onto the very modified, I would say, front nose of Daniel Hall, and that pretty much tells you how hard they're battling. Here comes the lunge, back down the inside. Tolan trying to get through on Fewins, now having to go the long way around at the Hobbs corner, going over towards Mike Knight, can't get the grip on the outside.
We've seen Lewis Tolan had quite a bit of decent speed last week at Ballard. Unfortunately, had his race ruined from a few incidents in that one. So he's been in the war so far this race, but he's trying to work his way back through. He's up to position number 17 now, I believe. So he's trying to work his way up in now behind Jason Fewins, trying to catch Dan Hall, who's gone away from Fewins in the last lap or so.
So there will be an advantage in some senses for drivers who do decide to jump into the pits, Brady, and that would be that pit lane transit time. It's one of the shorter pit lanes out there.
Yeah, it sure is. You won't lose that much time when you do take the pit stop, but you're not really going to be taking that much fuel either. The one thing, you do need about 20 litres of fuel to cover your tyres, so more than likely your tyres are going to take a lot longer than what your fuel is. Down the inside is Lewis Tolan. Really good run there off the upward curve at turn number 4. He's going to be down the inside. Jason Fields taps the brake. He's going to let him go into turn number 5, trying to get in behind him as well, but Tolan gets the move done.
Yeah, a wise decision to let off and let him have it, not to fight into the next stage of the corner, not going to compromise both of their races. Yuanji Lin starting to look really, really aggressive. It's the first time I've really seen Ian Ford defend in this race. He defended down into the hairpin, and that has meant that Yuanji Lin is really focused on trying to get those next moves sorted. Lives in the United States of America, originally from China, has the highest iRating of any driver from China out there, does Yuanji Lin. He is simply put magical when he's out there behind the wheel, and he is pretty great at anything he puts his mind to.
Yeah, he's been pretty impressive in these limited starts in this Gen 3 Supercar. He's always competitive, currently running position number 7 on the road, right in behind Ian Ford, one of the veterans of the sport, and William Morgan and Steve Jensen. So a nice little battle pack forming here for position number 4 on the road, and not far behind as well is Tim Mulford. But other than Ryan Leonard and potentially Thomas Freeman, just based off data during the week, I'm not really sure if anyone else is trying the field safe strategy. Maybe Stephen Borg, because these paces dropped off quite a lot. He's lost a lot of time to Tim Mulford in front, so maybe the 21 of Stephen Borg is another guy to watch out for with that no-stop strategy.
Well, he was a tenth slower last time over Tim Mulford. He's had a couple issues here and there, so we will be wondering what the pace is going to be. And I am keeping an eye out on Lianage here, because that gap has skyrocketed out now to 1.2 seconds. So if he's lost the back of Seb Teeks here, he will not be getting as much of that help out there of the toe, and he'll have to do the saving on his own out there on the circuit. He's got bundles of pace, but it's very much like putting the reins on a stallion. Nobody wants to do it because we want to see how quick you can go, but if this is the fastest way, then unfortunately he's going to have to be a very, very diligent young driver.
Well, if you remember back to round 3, Sperry, and anyone watching at home on iRacing and SimSpeed, the race at Circuit de Navarra was also a field-safe race. And from what I've been told this week, this is a much harder field save here at Okayama. So it's going to be a lot tougher to get the move done. We've seen pretty much everyone at Navarra do the field save. It's a lot harder to get it done here at Okayama. So I wouldn't be surprised if only 1 or 2 guys get it done. So it'll be very interesting who those 2 guys are, other than Rayan Leonard, by the race's end.
Shadowing continues behind Steve Jansen, with William Morgan there in 5th, Ian Ford in 6th, and Yuanji Lin in 7th position. Steve Jansen hasn't put a foot wrong in this race. First taker into the lane, Jason Fewins jumps in on only lap 13. Yeah,
very early. I'm probably expecting a lot of people to pit around lap 20 in this race from the data observed earlier in the week. So it'll be interesting to see obviously who goes a little bit earlier, and then look at Ian Ford trying to get a move done on William Morgan down the inside at turn number 5. There's a big lunge from Ian Ford down the inside. They're going to be side by side on the exit. William Morgan just loses the read just a little bit, and there'll be enough Ian Ford to get in front.
Ford chops the nose into the revolver, and that is as veteran as it gets. Took an advantage on William Morgan. Stasis. He wouldn't have been expecting the lunge. Morgan tries to throw one back up the inside at Redmond corner. Not going to get that sorted, but he is definitely showing here as William Morgan. He wants to go and attack back. He wouldn't have been pleased that Ian Ford snuck his way through and brute forced it the way he did.
Now, William Morgan's been driving very well so far in this race. In the background, Tim Mulford also in the pit lane as well in lap number 13, so a little bit earlier than what we expected. A really nice move from Ian Ford, got it done very, very late in the braking zone. Probably caught William Morgan there by surprise just a little bit. Now William Morgan's going to work a little bit harder to try and get that spot back.
Now that's really interesting because Tim Mulford is Rehan Lianaj's teammate, so it's split strategy at Phoenix Sim Racing as they've jumped into the pits. They will get themselves the fuel, they'll get themselves the tyres, and they will get themselves out and away again. So Tim Mulford making an early call in off the leaders, and there is also still that undercut feel that you're going to have, that drivers are going to be aggressive. Lynn runs uber deep through the Atwood curve, and that's going to drop him off of the back of William Morgan. Goodbye to any fuel-saving opportunity.
Yeah, unfortunately there for Lynn just to run a little bit wider. We've seen a few guys do that tonight. Tixier and Chastanoff as well have done that out in front. So unfortunately it's a little mistake. He's just dropped off a little bit from William Morgan. It's going to make it a little bit harder. He's going to have to use a little bit more fuel now to try and get onto the back of William Morgan to get that full draft benefit.
Yeah, he needs to really hustle now to get himself back into position, but keep an eye out on the front of this field because James Chastanerth here is dealing with Seb Tixier, and Tixier does not want to relent. He is all over Chastanerth, running through Redmond and then over through Hobbs Corner. Mike Knight here, the penultimate corner. They will lead themselves now to the last corner. No takers, no surprises. Down into the lane. They will start lap 15 of 30, which will mean 16 laps to go here in this one. And Chastanerth leading this race, I think, has been exemplary in getting to the front. Hasn't necessarily had the ability to change away. William Morgan, after that move, has decided he'll take the plunge in and try and cover off someone like Tim Mulford.
There's a few guys in the lane as well. Chad Lewis, Tyler Yowett as well, also in the lane. So a few takers in for their one pit stop in this race. And we've seen Tixier applying a bit of pressure in the last lap also to the back of James Hasselhoff, but still their pace isn't quite as much as what I thought, considering they're not saving field. Ray Leonard was actually quicker than both of them the last time by, so it just shows how much pace the number one car has on board.
Yeah, he certainly is shackled at the moment and wants to be unleashed. On the brakes to the hairpin then, 1 and 2 in lockstep. Currently, Chastanerth and Tixier putting themselves through the ringer at the moment as they now look at these consecutive left-hand bends, 3 in a row. We are going to be getting through this section, and this will be the third one coming up here of Redmond. And through this left, you are trying to make sure at just 70 kilometers an hour, you're putting the power back on again and looking each and every place to make these moves. You're in the low gears here, so you've got to be very cautious about being high revs. And if you want to be very cautious about how you do, you might want to sacrifice the exit for a lower gear ratio out there. The gear ratio here, especially for a fuel-safe style race, is massive and critical in terms of getting what you want. Bowden finds himself back going again, and look at where he's found himself with after all of the dramas he's had in this race. He's right there in the battles going on with the freshly pitted William Morgan, who's through.
He sure is, and Rob Bowden has shown a lot of pace the last few weeks, unfortunately, with that lap 1 incident. He's all the way down the further field. Morgan on the cold tyres runs it wide at turn number 5. Unfortunately, has that battle and lose a lot of time with Rob Bowden in this battle as well. So that's probably going to hurt William Morgan later on in the race. Ian Ford, Lewis Tolland, Andrew Ritchie also in the lane.
9.8 seconds in the box for Ian Ford. Through goes Riley McKibben. Through, still though, goes William Morgan, but Morgan has run very deep through the opening corner, and Ian Ford will have an opportunity to come back. Leaders on screen here on lap 16, and the sun just slowly starting to peek out here at the moment. Track temperature here in sim time of heading towards 10 o'clock in the morning here in Japan is 21 degrees Celsius, and it's only going to get hotter as they go. Fastest lap for Alex Sevillano Hiedo. Then at the back of the field, a 32.3, and it's not often that 23rd in this race sets the fastest lap.
No, certainly not. So he's obviously got a lot of pace on board that machine in this race, unfortunately just buried in the field. So still Chasanoff leading, and now he's actually in the lane. So this is the first of the leaders into the pit lane. James Chasanoff from the race lead, trying a little undercut. I was about to touch on it. William Morgan actually undercut Ian Ford through that cycle of pit stops, even with battling Rob Bowden. So maybe this is Chasanoff's plan to do the undercut and stay in front of Seb Tixier.
Well, he's half and halving here in this race. It'll be a short stop for him and back off and going again. He knew he had to be aggressive, so it allows now Seb Tixier at the front. Rehan Lianaj in second position. Steve Janssen now moves himself up into third place, and Rehan has got to keep himself in that range. In the box for 10.3 seconds goes James Chasanoff, and he is out and away. And I can tell you something right now, there is absolutely nobody with him. He is on an island on his own to work with, so that will tell you all you need to know. Stephen Borg has also come in, and also Dean Wright.
Yeah, a lot of guys starting to pit a little bit earlier than what I expected in this race. So the question is now, what is Seb Tixier going to do? Is he going to react and pit this lap on lap number 17, or is he going to try and go a little bit longer as well, use the pace, or James Chasanoff still has cold tyres on this first initial half to three quarters of a lap? So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. But I think still Ryan Lina's, if he can get the fuel save done, looks like he's in a world of his own in this race.
Well, that's the difference you can see on screen between James Chasanoff and Rehan Lianaj and Seb Tixier. A full infield section to try and navigate through is the gap's difference currently, and that is Riley McKibben, who's out there in the HoloLive car. Well, perfect place to experience that in Japan here, losing out all the places and dropping back a little bit of time. Tim Mulford finding himself then as the earliest taker into the pits, right with William Morgan. Ian Ford has dispatched of him and gone on his merry way. But for Morgan, it's now where does he go and make that launch? Where does he now look at defending here when they've got Rob Bowden and Riley McKibben there who are yet to pit? They'll be searching and definitely hoping that they don't have to deal with them either in the way that they try and conduct their race. In theory, these are two drivers who can be aggressive now.
Yeah, certainly. Again, they've made their pit stop so they can go all out for the remainder of the race. Scott Mackay as well in the pit lane for ERT, the number 23 machine. And I was just having a look. Thomas Freeman, he started 18th in this race. Not the best qualifying session for him, but he's up to 5th at the moment. He's one of the guys that we touched on at the start of the race that might be one to do the no pit stop strategy. And if it works out for him, Steve Janssen, Tixier, and Wang Jilin have to pit. That might put Thomas Freeman in position number 2, because he's 14 seconds ahead of the original race leader, James Chasanoff.
Yeah, he's doing 33.7s currently lifting. Chasanoff, by comparison, a 36.3 for his outlap. So blackout OPR, looking around, Thomas Freeman, he's got a fairly sizable margin at the moment, and he'll definitely want to try and maintain it here at this stage of the race. And he's definitely lifting and coasting through various sections of the lap. I've seen him drop anywhere 15 kilometers an hour just off the throttle, a long lift and coast to try and make it work. If you can make the numbers work for you, then that is a race that you can smile from ear to ear about, knowing that you've got it all where you want it. The question's going to be whether it pays off by how quick he's going.
Yeah, 100%. The one downside to saving fuel and how much you have to do it here, Okayama, your lap times will suffer. So that lap by was a 33.6. James Chasanoff, he's about to come across the start-finish line, and his first flying lap out of the pits, we'll see the lap time difference with him is a 32.2. So 1.4 seconds difference between Chasanoff and Freeman the last time by. So if you try and do the math, it's going to be pretty close by the end of the race.
Yeah, that is a full 1.4 seconds and a very sizable 1.4 as well. Here comes the lunge down the inside. It looks like we're going to have a little bit of side-by-side battling off the exit, and Conor McDermott there losing out the place to the all-white machine of Dean Wright, who makes his pass and gains that place and now moves himself to 14th position overall right now. And there is your difference makers then, 0.8 of a second's difference on fastest laps, 1.4 the difference here over the course of the run. But remember, those tyres will be good for about 3 to 4 laps here for James Chastain, and then they're going to start fading back into the distance. So how much of this is going to be a time gain on fuel save, and how much of it is because you've got fresh rubber underneath you?
And it looks like Wanji Lin, sorry to cut you off, Sperry, but he's now dived in the pit lane as well from position number 4, so he's definitely not doing the fuel save either. So still Steve Jensen P3 yet to pit. Seb Tixier still going on lap number 20, so these guys running a little bit longer than everyone else in the field. Chastain pitted quite a few laps ago, and still a lot of guys still yet to pit in the midfield. Rob Bowden, one of those guys, so it's a lot to play in this race. But Thomas Freeman sees pace isn't quite far off his fast lap of the race, but he would have had to been saving from lap number 1.
Well, it's so telling right now that it's 25 seconds to chase Rehan Lianaj down, 24.4 for James Chastain. That is well out of the realms of possibility with the paces that are currently being showcased right now. Lynn has come out just in front of Tim Mulford, just for a little bit of comparison. So that tells you all you need to know about where they are. There is your front two, and Rehan Lianaj just agonizingly there at 1.2 seconds. At the moment, Tixier, we know, has been aggressive on the brakes. We don't know how long he's able to go or what numbers he's being able to pull out there with the way that he's driving. So we expect him maybe to come into the pits, but at this stage, the final third of the race, is he going to hang out for hope as long as he possibly can?
He might try and run as long as he can, because you don't have to really top up that much fuel, so he can probably go a few more laps. But how long will the tyres last going in? And it's not much longer, because Seb Tixier now in the lane, and that will give Ray and Leonardo the lead on lap number 21.
So keep an eye on your fuel gauge, Rehan. It's you on your own against the circuit for 10 more laps worth of racing. Steve Janssen just behind him in second, who's been playing a very shrewd game currently out there. Now where is Chastain going to come out by comparison to Tixier, who now pulls into his box, angles then for the way out, and now will get himself on the jacks with the fuel, with the tyres. What's the pit stop time looking at? Because it was a 10.3 that was needed to be beaten, 10.4 from Tixier. Where is Chastain? He's gone through, so he'll fall behind. He'll fall way behind. He's going to be right there with Ian Ford now.
Yeah, he pitted on lap number 16, James Chastain, so only a 5 laps difference in tyres. That's a long way to make up for Seb Tixier. So I think the undercut has been the strategy here tonight. If you are pitting, and here's Ian Ford now, side by side through turn number 2. Remember, Tixier on the cold tyres, and he won't be able to hold off Ian Ford. He's going to get the move done through the Moss S's and outward curve, so that will put Ian Ford to position number 5 on the road.
Yeah, but remember, fresh tyres for Tixier. He'll have the chance to attack back against Ian Ford and really mastermind this race and get it to a position where he can get at least 4th and look to attack Chastain, who is there in 3rd position on the brakes to the hairpin. Not going to be close enough this time, but now it's about settling down. This lap is going to be important then for just building up the pressure cooker here from Seb Tixier. He knows that Ian Ford is a veteran who's seen it all, who has done it all effectively when it comes to iRacing, and knows that that's the margin that he wants to start tackling and beating in races like these.
Well, Tixier's job now on the first lap on the cold tyres just to stay with Ian Ford. He's going to have 6 lap better tyres to work with at the back end of this race. So if he just stays with him, he's going to have a definite tyre advantage at the back end. So if he just stays with him, doesn't let him get too far ahead, which he's doing very well so far on this air lap, he's going to have a very good chance to get that spot back.
He's got an incredible chance to gain that spot back and move on through with that position. He's angling now along the front stretch in towards turn 1, diving down the inside. Ford holds the margin around the outside. They'll head out of the first corner to Williams here at turn number 2, and Tixier has already got the move done because Ian Ford, as much as he wanted to battle it, had nothing for it. Decided it's easier just to lift out because you got Lynn there chasing the background with William Morgan, and Yuanji Lin had a little look to the the inside, but Morgan has gone straight on at the corner and will drop the place behind. So William Morgan loses one. Yuanji Lin with a great pass, and that's 2 changes of position. Yuanji Lin to 7th, Seb Tixier into the top 5.
Yeah, nice freebie there for Wang Jilin down the inside at the outward curve. William Morgan unfortunately running a little bit wide. We've seen Wang Jilin come out probably 2 seconds behind William Morgan after his pit stop. And obviously the early stoppers like William Morgan, like also Ian Ford, are struggling now a couple laps into their stint. Whereas Wang Jilin and obviously Seb Tixier on those fresher rubber is making it work now after the cold tyre period. So it'll be interesting to see. And also Steve Jans, I'm going to touch on, is still going. You better say lap number 23, he's still going this race. Is he able to pull off the no-stop race?
Well, he was only 2/10 slower than Rehan Lianaj on that last lap. I think it's really telling in terms of what he's doing. He's very much in the tank for it as well, and in second position. Why wouldn't he? Difference on the last lap, just half a second for Chastanov over Lianaj, and I think that is as telling of a statement. As you can see, he's still 22.3 seconds off the race lead, and Thomas Freeman finds himself there. Tixier, fastest lap of the race with a 32.1 out there to say, I am in full chase down mode, trying to get back to what I believe is my place. But at the moment, you know, Seb Tixier, he can chase as much as he wants. He's still got 4 seconds to reel back in James Chastanov here in the final 8 laps.
He's going to have to try and make a lot of ground in the first initial laps of this stint, because the tyres are going to fade out just a little bit in a few laps' time. He was 9/10 faster than Chastanov that last one by 8.5 tenths officially. So he's going to try and make up the ground now, because he's going to mellow out in the next few laps. So we'll see what he can do. But again, Steve Jansen, I didn't think he was racing really hard early on. Didn't think he'd be able to go this long on field as well. So we'll see what he does for the rest of the race. But at the moment, he's looking for a very nice P2.
What I find so telling is going through the penultimate corner of Mike Knight. Both Janssen and Lianaj are not putting the power on out of the corner, just lifting off out of the exit of the corner, dropping about 3 or 4 clicks of speed and then losing that time back again. So I think that's really, really showcasing the differences in style, that they don't want to be on the power necessarily. We'll take a look as we get an onboard perspective a little bit further back down the order here. So this will be heading to the final corner with Dean Bright. So this is, I think, down on the bottom, a little replay of how they're not really doing too much here. You've got to be very switched on to each and every corner and how much is going to be on there. So we'll take a little look at this replay. This tells you how much they're lifting into turn 1. Look at it. Look already. That's massive amounts of lift. That's like 300 meters.
Yeah, it's a massive amount of fuel saving you've got to do to get the no-stop strategy done around this track here tonight. We've seen James Chastanov again take 7/10 out of Thomas Freeman last time by, but the gap's only gone down to 10 seconds. It was about 14, now down to 10, so it's still a long way to make up. I don't think Chastanov's quite going to get there, but his pace compared to Seb Tixier is really struggling at the moment. So Tixier might be on. That might be the battle to watch out for. The remaining 6 laps of this race will be Tixier versus Chastanov for P4.
It is very much that which we keep our eyes focused on. Another 9/10 that last time by Thomas Freeman with a 33.7 on the last lap. The gap now down to 10 seconds, but it's too little too late, mate. If you want to chase him down for the podium, you're going to have to hope that some drivers just have nothing left in the tank by the end of this race, that maybe there are splashes and dashes on the horizon for those who need them. At this stage, we can focus here with James Chastanov looking behind. Seb Tixier is growing bigger and bigger in the Taka mirrors that he's got at the moment, and he is just hoping that the end of this race will find itself into fruition in the next few laps, and he needs to see that checkered flag pretty soon.
It just must be agonising for these drivers to be going so much slower than they can, saving so much fuel. I'm not a fuel saver whatsoever in these cars, so I couldn't imagine what it's like. I can't do it whatsoever, so these guys are very talented to be able to save as much fuel as they can and also keep up the speed as they do as well. So very impressive for the top 3 at the moment, Leonard Jansen and also Thomas Freeman, to keep enough speed up and save enough fuel to get without a pit stop. It's pretty impressive.
Well, just behind, look out, because Yuanji Lin's got his eyes set now on Ian Ford. This will be for 6th place there, right in the back of shot. Lynn now moving over in his Mustang to the inside, covered all the way by Ian Ford. He's still able to get the turn in through the corner as well, so he's covered that off fantastically in his Evolution Racing Team Mustang. So he's hoping each and every time he goes around that he can block the key places, he can make the passes, but this is one of the few circuits where anywhere's a place you can make a pass. Redmond, you can make a lunge here, and we've seen it go wrong so far in this race, but Yuan Jilin not close enough yet. He knows when the right place is to attack. His 6,500 iRacing would indicate that he knows where the moves are.
Yeah, he's also got quite a turn of pace as well, it looks like, over Ian Ford, so it's probably a matter of time before he tries to get that move done. Looks like Ford just struggling a little bit with his rear tyres to try and hang on for position number 60. He runs a little bit wide on the exit of the final corner, gets in the gravel, and looks like Wan Jilin swerving down the front straight. He's going to try and put the move down inside, but Ian Ford very aggressive down the inside to block the move, and he'll remain in front for now, but Wan Jilin all over the rear bumper.
He is there and he is waiting. Pretty much sat there looking at turn 2 of Williams. Rob Bowden, I believe, is in a big scrap as well. This is Chad Lewis who's trying to get through. This is for 11th place, so that continues. There goes the look, and again, Ian Ford just turns it into the corner at just the right time to stymie the attack of Yuan Jilin, who can't really do anything about this at the moment. All he can do is just watch and stare at the back of that Mustang in front, looking every place for a move, getting wide in the mirrors using the Sim Racers handbook and not finding much love. That's a missed apex slightly there by Ian Ford. He just comes back across the cover. This is frustrating for Yuan Jilin. He can tell he's quicker.
Yeah, it must be very frustrating for the driver of the number 3 machine, but it's also just experience from Ian Ford, knowing to where to put the car in the brace hands. Wan Jilin puts the nose down the inside at turn number 8 at Redmond, not quite close enough to get it done there. He's going to try turn 9 as well. That's a big lunge attempt from Wan Jilin, but Ian Ford, like I touched on, very experienced. He knows where to put the car in defense mode. He's doing a very good job, and we're going to quickly touch on as we go to a SimSpeed replay once again. Down the inside is car number 15 of Jason Fewens, and it's Riley McKibben running a little bit wide there. So down the front straight now, this Wan Jilin once again trying to get the move done at turn number 1, not quite close enough, but also shout out to Rob Bowden. He was turned around at the start of the race. He was dead last on the road. He's gone the no-stop strategy, now back to position number 11. So very nice recovery for Rob Bowden.
Yeah, Rob Bowden doing a great job there, and Riley McKibben, what more can you want out there with the car with Gura on the side of it? Look at the inside, chances still for Yuan Jilin. It's still not there. It's still frustrating. It's still not getting unlocked here. Ian Ford putting a masterclass of defence on. Yuanji's going to have to just throw it down the inside here if he wants it. This might be the run though. Ian Ford straight to the inside. Yuan Jilin happy to sit on the outside this time. Now trying to run the Oracle on the outside. Doesn't work once more, and Ian Ford has got his margins perfectly covered. 3 laps left for Rehan Lianaj at the front when he crosses the line, and still a 5-second buffer to work with if the fuel tank goes empty.
We'll try and have a look as well at how much Seb Tixia has closed on James Chasnoff as well. He's closed the gap right up. It was way out there just a few laps ago. He's only within 2 seconds, less than 2 seconds now to the back of James Chasnoff for P4. So we touched on it before. That'll be the battle to watch out for at the end of the race, and it's slowly closing in with 3 laps to go.
It was 1.4 last time they crossed the line. 33.3 meets 33.2. It's 1.2 now as they cross the line. Tixier sits down, realises that he is struggling. This final second barrier is the toughest one to chase on down. He would have used all the rubber to get there, and has he left anything left in the tank to go and get that 4th position? Because I argue, no, he's not. He's not got enough yet.
Well, you can see by the lap times he was 5, 6, 7 tenths a lap quicker at the start of his set. Now it's balanced out a little bit. Last time by was only 1/10.5 quicker, so he certainly does have a pace advantage, but I don't think he's quite got enough to get the move done, because he's got to get to the back of him but also have enough pace to get the move done. It's not the easiest track also to get a move done with the tight nature of all the corners around here, so I think Chasnoff might be safe throughout the race, but we know Tixia, he's last of the late breakers and he loves to throw one in there, so we'll see how he goes for this fight for 4th.
Yeah, we'll want to try and get that move sorted. We'll definitely want to try and jump on through the order and say, this is my final gambit here at Okayama. You can't leave anything on the table, really, after this race, because they'll already be there. Dan Hall hit 17 instant points, now has the iRacing black flag penalty assigned to him, has to now dive down into the pits or take the consequences of it. So that's huge in Dan Hall's race. He didn't want that, and he finds himself there. Everywhere you look, there's battles aplenty out there. That's Jason Fewins up there with Tyler Jowett for position as we look further forward with a couple laps remaining. Still, the Ian Ford game working well, and they're slowly bringing William Morgan into play.
Yeah, all this battling now between Ian Ford and Wanji Lin is just inviting William Morgan, who was the fastest out of the three on that last lap. He's not too far away from potentially causing a ruckus, making a three-way battle here for position number 6. So we'll see how that plays out in the remaining laps. We only got 2 laps to go, probably about a lap and a half now for a race leader, Brian Leonard, as he goes into turn number 6 and 7. A clinical performance so far. We touched on it early on that he was saving a lot of fuel. He's going to do the no-stop strategy, and it's working for him so far, but he's not at the end yet.
No, he is going to be just waiting for that chance, and if it happens on the last lap, it is the perfect time for it. So he knows that with 0 opportunities left afterwards, that's what he's trying to gamble with and get himself towards, knowing there is not long left. So now through at the Piper's Corner and hoping over towards Redmond that he's still got that margin. It's there. Barney waves the white flag because it's now the final lap for Rehan Lianash. 5.5 seconds clear at the front of this field and doing what he can to say, I am top dog here at this stage. Ian Ford still on the defence, and Seb Tixier looking for that 4th position on James Chastanet, hoping that there is one final throw of the dice left. That gap is down to 0.6 of a second, but it's still manageable. You can still carry it like a rugby union player away from anybody else and say, at one arm's length, I can make that hold. I can make that happen. Going through at Williams and now down the hill through to the Moss S. This Atwood curve is the best place to get a move sorted and lined up. And Tixier, the last of the late breakers, might go for a Hail Mary throw down the inside and hope that any opportunity he can navigate through is going to work. If this one part can be unlocked. He looks a bit too far away at 3 car lengths, but he closes right on into the bumper, going in through the hairpin, hoping he's got chances later on. Only a handful of corners remain for Rehan Lianash, and the story of the Hachiko statue is all about a lonely dog who waited for his master. Rehan has no master. He is the lonely dog out there. He is top dog out there. Nobody could get close. His patience is personified. Rehan Lianash comes to the line and wins a fuel-safe classic at Okayama.
Fantastic run for Rehan Lianash. Also Steve Jansen, his best result of the season in second. Thomas Freeman from 18th on the grid with the fuel safe to 3rd. Very impressive from Thomas Freeman. James Chastanoff just going to hang on there to position number 4 over Seb Tixier, and also Ian Ford in that battle with Wanji Lin will hold on for position number 6. William Morgan not far in position number 8. Tim Mulford and Stephen Boog still going at it for 9th and 10th on the road. Rob Bowden, we touched on him earlier, still fighting his way through the field. He's going to finish 11th by the looks of it. A race full of action and strategy. It was a fantastic one to call, Sperry.
Yeah, this was one which had a lot of intrigue. This was a thinking driver's race. Big drift off of the final corner by Alex Sevillano. There making his way over towards the line. We will wait, of course, for Riley McKibben, who will be the last driver on the leading lap, but we can get unofficial confirmation of this race until McKibben crosses the line. Rehan Lianash playing the fuel game to perfection and winning this one out by 5.6 over Steve Jansen, who couldn't keep the same pace as Lianash, but was very much in the same game here today. Thomas Freeman from 18th, as was stated by Brady, finds himself up on the podium, a gain of 15 spaces, and your biggest mover in the field. It then follows along with James Chastaneuf in 4th position, Seb Tixier in 5th with Ian Ford in 6th. Just about staving off Yuanji Lin's advances in 7th and the chase of William Morgan in 8th place. Tim Mulford, who was the earliest taker in the pits, found himself in 9th, with Stephen Borg rounding out the top 10 in the field. Down the page we go to Chad Lewis and Scott Mackay, who was beaten from pillar to post in the opening couple of corners, which really hurt his race out there. Overall, Rob Bowden also found himself turned around but faded to 13th. Heading to the line, Lewis Tollan and Dan Hall would be 14th and 15th positions, with 16th then belonging to Dean Wright, with Alex Sevillano Hiedo in 17th and Jason Fewins in 18th position. Tyler Jowett running the 888 livery would be down in 19th overall, with Andrew Ritchie, part of the Banter Alliance, there as the final car in the top 20, with Conor McDermott 1 lap down. Sad bows all around for Riley McKibben down there in 22nd position, with Travis Daly there 1 lap down, and just the one retiree from the race being Gabriel Bouclier in the number 7 DRT machine. So that's a lot of battling that they've had to deal with, but we're heading back to Blighty when it comes to the next round of the championship here. It's the 300 layout, so full Snetterton on display, and a former airfield base in the heart of the flattest Norfolk you can possibly find. If you watch the Senna documentary, you might find it's a little bit hillier than that, the brand new one that was out there on Netflix. But Brady, this is a track which pretty much is going to test the drivers right now on how brave they want to be on the brakes each and every time they go around.
Yeah, it's a very technical circuit as well, and I've commentated one race here in the past, but it was on the old 200 layout, so a lot more basic of a layout. So the 300 layout is going to be something new for me. Probably not going to be new for you. You've called too many races over your time, so I think it's going to be very interesting. We'll see how the race pans out, but I'm looking forward to next week's, Barry.
It's one of the few circuits I've actually commentated in real life at. It is absolutely fantastic to be up in that commentary box in the height of summer. Tell you what, leave the door open, why don't you? It gets stuffy in there. But that is to come along February 17th. You want to join us with us 10:15 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 9:15 p.m. Australian Eastern. So make sure that you're in with us on the ride, not only with SimSpeed TV, but of course with us on iRacing as well. A tactical strategy of a game here today from the team, of course, of Jay Kennedy, Brady Baldwin, and Jake Sperry. That tactical mastery was there by Rehan Lianaj, and with the absence of a few key faces here today, it's about stand up and deliver. The best strategy wins out once more, and Rehan Lianaj knows above everybody else that he just has to capitalize and toil while everyone else is away and using a drop round. We'll see whether there will be places to attack in the next round that comes up along. We'll see you in 7 days when we take our trip to Snetterton.